Hello, hi, I'm Meredith, and I'm one of the teachers with the Brahma Kumaris, but we always say teacher students because we might be a teacher, but we're studying all the time. And I know from the first day that I arrived at the center over 30 something years ago, I knew that this was a path where I was going to be studying a lot, and that's been the case over all of these years. And why? And it has to do with the topic. To have a life that's more fulfilling. And that's my topic, as I'm saying tonight, is leading a more fulfilling life. And, you might be thinking if I'm talking about this, and before I forget, if you're watching, if you could share, we really appreciate that. And this is, again, Brahma Kumari's Miami Facebook. And we are on every single night, Monday through Friday at 6:30. We've got different teachers with different perspectives, different ways of thinking, and they're all very dedicated because they love what they do. They love studying and they love teaching. So now back to the theme, leading a more fulfilling life. So you might be thinking, well, is this actually the time, to be thinking about this? Right now it's, we're into survival mode, and I know we were talking about that last week with the search for meaning. And I was thinking about it, and what came to me was that this is the time to feel more fulfilled. Because if we're not fulfilled and we're feeling lacking, there's going to be a feeling of emptiness. There's going to be a feeling of just being out of sorts. And think about it. When you're fulfilled, what does that mean to you? What does that feel like? It feels, well, I'll tell you what I feel. I mean, it says it in the word fulfill. You feel full, a feeling of fullness, but in the good way, not like you've eaten so much you're full, but, just a feeling of you're full. There's nothing lacking. There's nothing that you want or need, and that everything is good. And then fulfill. You're filled up. It's like, again, you don't have to be looking out there for something. You just can live right now with yourself and the feeling that all is good. That's one of my favorite mantras, actually. And it's not even, we don't even have mantras with the Brahma Kumaris, but all is well. And when I get stressed or I'm feeling uncertain, I just say to myself, all is well. Everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be. So leading a fulfilling life, I was thinking about myself, actually. I guess that's how it starts. You think first about yourself, and then you kind of move out to realize other people's experiences, or it happens back and forth. I'm going back to myself like many years ago, over 30 years ago, when I first came to these teachings of the Brahma Kumaris and learning about meditation and spirituality, which was considered pretty weird then, very weird. But that's changed, right? And what I realized was that when I look back now, what I realized is that I wasn't too fulfilled. And that might have been the age, when you're a lot younger, you want to keep moving, but there was this feeling then of like I was never totally satisfied. It would be like I got this promotion, or I got this show because I worked in television, but what next? What am I going to do next? So it was kind of like an uneasiness that whatever was going on, there was always that more. And I think in our society, that's how we've been programmed to always, whatever it is that you have or whatever you're experiencing, it's just not enough. And that was kind of how I was until I came to this, and I began to see that this was kind of at the root of my, of the stress that I had. And I wasn't terribly stressed. It wasn't like that, but there was kind of a feeling of not easiness and not just totally relaxed. And I know that I've come a long way, though there are days when I feel like I haven't. I better go back and study more or figure things out more. But basically, I know that my life has become so different. And when there is stress, and there has been a lot of stress, as I'm sure you all have experienced, if it's not now, in the past or whenever, I feel better equipped to handle it, and I can figure things out, and I can feel fulfilled. I don't have to get something that I want, and in order to feel full and to feel good, it can be very simple. And so again, this going back to this word fulfilled, and a feeling of that it's all okay, that whatever's happening, and that takes something that I've been thinking about, which is desires. Desires, when we want something, what happens? We start to crave something. I mean, I know I'm that way with chocolate. Maybe you are, and they're saying chocolate's not as good. Well, some say it's good for you, and others say it's not. But okay, we know it's too much is not great, right? And I know that when I crave something and I want something and I can't have it, or I feel like I deserve it, then I lose my feeling, of being satisfied in life, and I start wanting, and it can lead to a lot of stuff going on in the head. How can I get it? And I'm talking about, could have to do with, recognition. It could have to do with wanting somebody to treat me a certain way. Maybe it's a promotion that you didn't, that I haven't gotten, or, it's my own life, different things have happened. And I was recalling someone that I worked with many, many years ago, and he was always unhappy. I'm not happy. He wasn't happy with work. He wasn't happy with, where he worked. And every time that I would speak with him, there was always like something, and I would say to him, and I was just sort of starting out in all of this, this way of thinking, which can be different for a lot of people. Not everybody was raised to think everything is good, whatever's happening is good. I can make effort, but I don't have to have desires. And every time that I saw him, I noticed that he just was so dissatisfied in life that he could almost not control himself. He couldn't even think in a positive way. And I think we all have, I'll speak for myself, a bit of that in us. We have those moments and we have those times when we're just not satisfied. And, we often blame it on others. This person, if I didn't have this supervisor, or if this wasn't happening, and now, of course, what's happening, there's a lot of things we could, be using that word blame a lot, and desiring things that we don't have right now. Maybe just the desire for everything to get back to normal. Things are moving, somewhat. We don't know for sure, but just to be aware of what it is that you're desiring and where you're feeling like, gee, I wish I had that. I wish I had that in my life. And another thing I think that has to do with desire has to do with looking at others. When we look at other people and we feel, how come they have that? Why is it they got that? Then that again leads to me, I want to say emotional disaster. Because as soon as I look at somebody else and I feel they've got something that either I deserve, or why didn't I get that? Whether again it's recognition or being treated a certain way, then I start to lose my feeling of being satisfied. I'm not even happy with myself after that. So these are all things to me that, that I've experienced, and sometimes of course I still do. And I think awareness is really important, being aware of watching yourself. How do you think? What are you thinking? And it's kind of like self-monitoring and being aware of what it is going on, in that mind. And I don't know about you, but I wasn't really taught a lot of these things. I wasn't really taught to be self-aware or to think about my thinking, think about my thinking, like to be aware of my thinking. I just thought whatever came out, and if it wasn't nice, then I would, of course, be aware of that. And maybe, often if we maybe are mean to somebody or we treat somebody, even unknowingly, we apologize, right? That's usually what happens. Maybe you lash out at someone or get irritated with somebody. It could even be your own child, I know myself with my child, who's a grown mom with her kids, and you have those moments, right, where you just get angry at your child. You're exhausted, like so tired at the end of the day, and they just don't stop. And what happens? We apologize, right? It's hard sometimes to be able to see it coming and to be aware of what it is we're feeling inside. And I noticed today that a lot of parents are a lot more aware, self-aware, that they're so much more careful with their words. Parents that I know, of my friends' children or friends of my daughter, that they're so much more aware of how they talk or how they speak, and I think it's just an absolutely, really good thing. Whether they took it in school, I don't think so. I think people have changed, and as we know right now, we're all going through changes too, and I think now there's like kind of this, you know, situation where we react a lot. You know, like we react to something and, oh, that's terrible. How could that happen? And then there's the spinning. You react or to somebody that you don't like what they've said or how they're behaving. It could be in the media, it could be in politics, could be your own friends or whatever's going on. And then once you react, it's like there's no stopping. Then it's like the words just keep coming and the negativity keeps coming. And again, you can't feel fulfilled when you're feeling in that state. You just, you can't. It's like one or the other. You're either, to me, this is again my thinking, I'm either fulfilled and feeling good and responding in a peaceful, good way and living like that, or I'm not fulfilled and I'm, irritated and I'm, worried and all of these things, and I'm again like reacting rather than just respond. And I think again it requires stopping when you start to feel that way, like just stopping and almost like just slow down and enjoy that moment, each moment of our lives. Living, we hear so much, living in the moment and being in the moment. And I think it really requires slowing down, Excuse me, I'm a little dry there. It's slowing down, and it starts with slowing our thoughts. Just slowing, like if I notice that my thoughts are going and going, I have to stop myself. And if I notice that my words are really fast, and I mean, one way to notice that is just record yourself and see how you're speaking. And I know I can go back and play this later and go, oh my goodness, way too fast, rushing through this, And, but, we can't be recording ourselves all the time, and we just have to really be watching ourselves, monitoring ourselves. This is like, to me, a whole new way of thinking that I didn't have in the past in my life. And, maybe people are changing now. Excuse me, I don't have a cold and I don't have anything. I just, after talking, sometimes I get dry. Back to slowing down. And so slowing down means that it starts with the thoughts. And so right now, why don't this is a good time to have some moments of meditation. And so let's just stop, experience myself now as a soul, as some energy, beautiful energy within. Let me just rein in all of those thoughts. Let me just stop whatever's going on and just feel peace. Let me go back to who I truly am, which is peace, which is calm, being in a moment of calmness, of just feeling calm, like the term calm, cool, and collected. If I can just master this and just experience this feeling of calmness, I can be all right. I can feel as if everything that's happening is good, that whatever is happening in my life is just fine, and I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to be struggling. I know there are things in my life right now that are happening and that are difficult, but I can choose to deal with them in a good way, in a constructive way. If I deal with situations in my life with worry or with being upset or with a lot of extreme negativity, what happens to me? It only ends in a lot more negativity and having to clean up the mess that I might have made with myself by not feeling good or with others. And so now is the time to just stop and feel the peace in me. Let me just experience some time with myself where I am a peaceful soul. I am peace. I am energy, and I'm filling myself up with peace and love and happiness and easiness, with all things good. I don't need to bring anything into myself that is not life-affirming, that is not good for the soul. I need to just focus on bringing only good into myself. Why? Because good begets good. The more that I can bring in that is good, and I know the difference. I know what's good as opposed to what's not healthy for me. I know when I eat food that's not healthy, I might do it, but I know it's not good. And that's okay. It happens. But if it's a steady diet of things that are bad when it comes to my thoughts, when it comes to how I feel, when it comes to what I eat, whatever I'm doing, if it's a steady diet, I know that I'm weakening the entire system. So let me just bring in the good, the good. Let me bring in love into my life. Let me bring in acceptance of whatever is happening, and know that even if things are happening around me that are not good, they will change. Why? Why? Because everything changes in time. Look at the world. I can look at the world. Nothing stays the same, nothing. So what is happening now, if I'm doubting things and I'm worried and I'm afraid, I have the faith that all will be good. So again, let me get back to myself as a beautiful being of light, a bright, sparkling light, just sparkling in the center of my forehead. I can't see it right here, but it's there, that light. And I know when I'm smiling, when I'm just smiling and breathing naturally, everything feels good. So all I have to do now is just slow everything down. Make life easy for myself. Let me feel like everything is good, even though it might not be good, and there are situations right now that I have to face. I'm creating a better life for myself just with these beautiful thoughts. I am good. I am a loving human being. I'm gentle and caring. This is what I need to bring into my life to be more fulfilled, and to be more satisfied with everything and accepting that whatever is happening is okay. And if it's not, I will be able to deal with it, and I will have the tools that will enable me to be able to respond in the right way, in a good way. So I am strong. I can handle whatever comes before me. I'm strong, and I can become even stronger with the right thoughts, the right feelings, with everything in my life. So let me just focus on the good. Let me focus on what I can handle, what I can do, and know that everything is happening exactly as it should be. Om Shanti. And let's say that to ourselves, okay? I know I can't hear you, but say Om Shanti. Om Shanti. It's a very healing term. It heals actually the soul and the body when you say Om Shanti. It brings a sense of peace to yourself and to your life. So repeat that every once in a while when you don't feel good, or you feel off, and that's all you have to do, is just be able to think in the right way. And I was listening to somebody on NPR the other day, maybe some of you heard it, and he's a journalist, and he's written a book about breath, I think it's either called breath or breathing, probably breath. And he has done all of this research, and he says that by certain ways of breathing, like breathing techniques, which has been practiced by yogis and people that are into these kinds of things, forever, right? What he has found is that people can be much healthier and they can actually heal from sicknesses and things, and that there is a right way to breathe. And he actually demonstrated it on radio, so I didn't see too much of it, but how to breathe in and hold your breath and breathe out. He does have a book, and I know there's a lot of breathing techniques, online. And he says that he knows from all of this research that he's done going back like thousands of years or however long that he did the research for, you can feel better when you breathe properly. And what is that doing when you breathe properly? What that does is it slows you down. You slow the breath down, and the thoughts follow. The thoughts become slower. The words become slower. You're not necessarily lashing out at someone or even at yourself, or there's just a whole feeling of balance and equilibrium, which is something that I think that we need terribly today, is to be more in balance. And so I think that when we eat, we can be slower. When we speak to people, when we think, we can just be slower and do things in a slower, more gentle, beautiful way. And that's a good start. It's meditation with the mind, but then it's also how we behave and how we react to whatever's going on. And lastly, I just want to say that we need to face our fears and recognize what our fears are. And sometimes we're fearful, but it's deep down in there, and whatever we're worrying about is totally different than what we're speaking about. And so just to become self-aware again and get in touch with what you're feeling. And if something is just scaring you, and there's a lot to be scared about today, and people are going through horrendous things, everybody at some level, is to just see it, be aware of it, and once you're aware of it, you can face it. And I often say, let it go, just let it go like a balloon. And from fear, turn it into courage and say, instead of I'm afraid, say, I am courage. I am courageous. I am strong. Whatever's coming to me, I can handle it. And everything will be fine. So thank you so much for joining me. And think about these things, These things are important if we want to be able to have this life of just feeling good no matter what and feeling fulfilled in our lives. So thanks again for being with me. Om Shanti.